Yo, hello everybody. Welcome back to episode 30 of the Captain's Lounge. It is your boy Captain Diesel, like usual, and I'm joined with a special guest who has been on here before, but the first time in camera form. This is your first time seeing what he looks like. I don't. Do you just want to use your government, or like did you have like a
You can use my
George?
government name. It's
We'll just
already
use.
out there anyway.
How you feeling, dog?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Just got done with work for today. Just happy to hop on and talk with my boy. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I wanted to have some conversation, and I didn't feel like talking to myself into the ether. Could have done it. I've done it before. Didn't feel like doing it for the lives. Plus, for the captain's lounges, I usually try to have colleagues on and have genuine conversation or genuine conversation. That being said,
Yeah,
y'all,
man, for sure.
today is going to be a very special episode because it is going to kind of make me sad a little bit, break my heart slightly, because we're going to be covering somebody
Um,
that I really admire in the world of cinema and how he is probably a weirdo and a good bit of an asshole. People, we are here discussing Mr. Quentin Tarantino himself. If you guys are not familiar with who Quentin Tarantino is, he is the infamous director and screenwriter for some of the bigger films in cinematic history. When you're looking at Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill, the franchise, or well, I guess we'll say franchise. Well, there's only three. The trilogy. We'll say trilogy. And obviously, my favorite movie of all time, the poster behind me, Django Unchained, and there's quite a bit of other movies like The Hateful Eight and things of that nature. So for me, he's a very, very good movie maker, and I enjoy most of the movies that he makes. I think there's the only one I haven't seen yet is that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood film, but I've heard like
it's
mixed
just
reviews
pretty
about that.
decent. It was decent.
But recently, he has stirred up a lot of fucking drama, and this drama has led me to kind of doing a little bit of a rabbit hole search and looking into a little bit more of who he is because I already know he's been a I said diversive. Divisive. That's what I'm looking for. Jesus Christ. He's been a divisive individual in Hollywood in general, and especially amongst the black community. I feel like I hear mixed reviews around black people and how they feel about him as a filmmaker. Usually stemming around his uses of the N word in a lot of his scripts and screenplays for a lot of his films, or at least for Django specifically, as far as I can remember. So it's been a thing. But to get into this, I have a few clips here to kind of introduce what the issue is. And then I also have some clips here to kind of really showcase a little bit more of who Quentin Tarantino is as an individual. So let me get this set up here. All right, first one is going to be introducing the issue that we have here. And essentially, this was Quentin Tarantino being a part of this interview for this podcast. I think the Brent Bailey Ellis, I'm blanking on the guy's name, but it was a podcast that he was a part of, and he was asked to like rank his top 20 or 25 films of the century or the decade. I can't remember what the time frame was, but just ranking his favorite movies. And he got to the movie Let There Be Blood, and which is cool. And for him, that film would have been one of the better films, or had a potential to be the first or second best film of the century if it was not for one issue. That being the actor of Paul Dano. For people that aren't familiar with who Paul Dano is, I know the most role recently that he did that I remember is the Riddler in the Batman movie. Um, I'm not super familiar with his work, but I know he's been in that and a few other works that I'm blanking on off the top of my head. But today I'm not here to really defend that. Well, before we get into that, let's hear what he actually said because I don't want to jump down his throat. Pause before we hear what he actually has to say.
Now, I would say though, There Will Be Blood would stand a better chance to be in number one or number two if it did.
Oh, I'm tripping. I fucking didn't even switch the screen. My bad, y'all. There we go.
Now, I would say though, There Will Be Blood would stand a better chance to be in number one or number two if it didn't have a big giant flaw in it. And the flaw is Paul Dano. Obviously, it's supposed to be a two-hander, and it's also so drastically obvious that it's not a two-hander. He is weak sauce, man. He's a weak sister. He's just such a weak, uninteresting guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop it there. He's just getting into some copyright shit with the movie. But off top, that's really fucking weird, in my opinion. Weak sister, I've never heard that fucking insult before. I didn't know if that was like an older thing that I'm not aware of. I don't know.
Sounds sexist, really. Okay, you're so like, it goes into that whole idea of like, why do you have to call a man to insult him, use women? Like that instant, my reaction to that is just like, what are we doing?
But before we get too deep into it, I have 2 other clips here, and these 2 other clips are going to be kind of looking at things he's done more specifically in the black side of things, about black folks kind of have an issue with them. And these are just 2 examples. First of which is somebody directly asking him about the critiques that have been levied against him in regards to his use of the N-word in his scripts.
You've taken the liberty of using the word nigger in a lot of pictures. I think you use it like truthfully in the script. What gave you the courage to do so? I mean, I know it's like a lot of critics are saying that it seems like courageous for you to be able to put that in there and say, as a filmmaker, I'm going to put truth to the script.
You know, the situation with me is each situation I've ever done, it's just been the truth of the characters. And here it's also the truth of the characters and the truth of time period. In this case, nobody's actually suggesting that they didn't say it that much in 1858 in Mississippi.
Right.
All right, that would be ridiculous. They're not even saying this, but they're saying maybe I should have cleaned it up. Well, that's just not what I do. I don't clean it up. There's film criticism and there's social criticism. And the people who complained about my use of that have been social critics. And I have to say, there's not one iota of social criticism that has ever been leveled my way that has changed one word of any other script I've written or any scenario I've ever done. It's my job to ignore them and to not pay attention to them because I believe in what I'm doing wholeheartedly and passionately. And it's my job to just get on with it.
So
I feel very passionate about making sure I say the N-word in my clips.
right when he said, "Oh, you're so courageous for putting the N-word in your script," I'm like, courageous. Let's relax there. We have instance number 2, because that was number 1. Here's number 2, and this is both revolving around the Django time of things, and they're in an interview where he's doing kind of like a press tour for Django on BET.
What?
On BET.
I just watched a clip on the internet of Quentin Tarantino talking about Django. It's wild. He code switches. He was on BT and he code switched harder than anyone you've ever seen in your life in a bad. Like he's not good at code switching.
Now, I'm not that computer savvy. So if he had sent me something that I plugged into my computer, I don't know if I would have ever heard it. All right, hey, download this. I don't know how to do that. All right, you know. So he put it on a cassette tape. Then Jamie, my man, all right, goes to the BET Awards. Rick Ross and the whole posse. We all got contact high on the
He's like, so damn, my man Jamie came through. Yeah, with the crew. Why you do that? Fly.
So I want you to like think back to that, people that watch this at home or watch this after the fact, and see how like visibly uncomfortable all the black people are that are around him in that moment in time. It's ridiculous. And the last thing I wanted to show was kind of the response, because he didn't just beef with Paul Dano. He had some things he had some choice words for Matthew Lillard as well as Owen Wilson, which 2 actors where I'm like, you chose like the most unproblematic, like nice people, at least reported. So I don't, it's Hollywood, so I don't know who they are behind closed doors, but at least from how people that have interactions with them have stated, people I know, especially that like met Matthew Lillard in person at all those conventions, they say nothing but raving things about him. And this is Matthew Lillard's response to the critiques that were levied against him from Quentin Tarantino about his quality of an actor.
Quentin Tarantino this week said he didn't like me as an actor. Whatever, who gives a shit? Listen. The point is that it hurts your feelings. It fucking sucks. And he wouldn't say that to Tom Cruise. He wouldn't say that to somebody who's a top line actor in Hollywood. I'm very popular in this room. I'm not very popular in Hollywood. 2 totally different microcosms, right? And so, it's humbling, and it hurts. So, thank you.
Yeah, we love Shaggy, man. What the hell?
Yeah, shout out to Matthew Lillard. He's gonna be in fucking Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which I need to see that movie. We have my boy Conman in the chat. Shout out, what's good, Con? He lets us know that weak sister is a British slur for women being weaker than men, but later adopted into describe an ineffective man lacking courage.
Booyah! See,
Yeah.
everything
But
always stems back to that.
usually, getting into
Most
all this though, the things that I take away from this is that first and foremost, Quentin Tarantino's a weird guy. He, from the way I look at it, he seems to be this person who, one, is very much so thirsty for like acceptance and validation in a lot of different aspects. A couple of critiques that I've heard about this, because people first are people critiquing his own acting, because I don't know if you know, but you know Tarantino is usually in all his films at one part or another, and he's been in some other films, but are usually films that his friends are doing that like he may ask them to put him in. If you remember Django at the end, where Django's like he's with the LaQuint Dickey company, they're like in the middle of the desert, like the transport or whatever it may be, and they're like about the dynamite in that whole situation. He was the Australian guy in that. That was him. And if you've seen Quentin Tarantino act in any of his films, he's not a great actor. I'm not the type to usually say that I can do something better than anybody that's done it at a professional level. But nigga, I feel like I can act better than Quentin Tarantino. I'm not to you. And it's taking nothing away from his ability to make films. I think he's a great screenwriter and great director, but he's not the best actor. So for him to kind of go off the rails and have this levied criticism against Paul Dano, Owen Wilson, and Matthew Lillard, I'm just like, okay, bro, what are we doing here? And for it to be so much venom in that criticism, I'm just like, I don't know. Part of me wants to be on the side of, you know what? Everybody, he's no different than any other person. Everyone has their movie or movies or particular actor that they dislike vehemently, and they kind of speak in that same manner. But at the same time, I'm kind of one of those people where I'm like, bro, you understand who you are in Hollywood and the respect that you've garnered in Hollywood thus far. Why are you putting yourself on this mountaintop looking down on everybody and being such an asshole about it? Why can't you be, I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to humble him, but at the same time, nigga, like, let's relax a little bit. What are your thoughts so far off top? Because I have some other like fun facts about Quentin Tarantino that I learned through watching, reading articles and listening to podcasts about him over the years. But before we get into that, where are you at with it?
You want me to throw a little hot take in the
Yeah.
in the conversation right now?
Go ahead, bro.
He's getting to the point where he's Hollywood's Kanye, man.
Oh damn.
He's getting to the point where he's starting to continue to do this. We already, because look, let's keep it a buck. Tarantino's always kind of been weird with the foot shit. Like there's been stuff that on the surface we all kind of dealt with it because nigga made some good movies. Now we're getting to the point where nigga, you're saying so much crazy shit. Like we can't continue to defend this. And then now with this stuff in the light, you start reflecting on some of the other stuff you've seen before, and it kind of makes it look a little different now. So I'm just like, to your point, I ain't trying to humble the man, but you are Quentin Tarantino. You have a sort of status that in a power dynamic to be able to say a lot to things to change Hollywood or uplift people or even just push people down. So like Matthew's point in that clip we saw, where it's like you didn't see him going after Tom Cruise or anything. Exactly. Like I don't think he would do that. I think it's intentional that he tried to punch down there, which is I don't use this word lightly, but it's pathetic, really, because it's not even necessary. Like, even if there's one thing to say, like, oh, I don't like something. It's another thing to make it seem like you genuinely despise whatever you're talking about. Like, when you was that Paul clip of him talking about Paul Dano, like, it seems like he just hates him. Like, he could have just said, Paul's not my particular type of actor, but I still think, he did a decent job and the movie he was in was good. I wouldn't have chosen him for that role, but I think, like, he's in Hollywood for a reason. You don't get to that point of acting if you're not a capable actor. Instead, you're calling this man a girl, which is a whole other problematic thing that we can talk about later, but we're just talking strictly about the clip itself. It's just like, was that even necessary? What happened if somebody did that to you? Then you're going to all be up in arms. In which, like, it seems like he feels very prideful about that just as much as a Kanye does, or even I'm going to use like another, like an Elon Musk. It's like you crave so much. It's like, I want people to like me before my quirks and my weird things. But then here you are not only being critical of others, but you feel very, very offensive when somebody's critical towards you. And it's like, what do you expect? Just because you make films and you only worry about the films, you still live in a social society where people are going to critique everything that you do, both in a film aspect and in a social aspect. So I don't understand this notion of him being so upset about that. And I'm not saying like every critique that's thrown at him is valid, but that's not really like the whole point of the argument I'm trying to make. So it's just like, I don't know, man. I really hope that 10th movie, whenever he's supposed to make that last movie, I hope it's a banger. Cause that shit is ass, my nigga. But they're gonna
tear
shred
it up.
him.
And one thing I want to clarify for people, I'm not mad at the fact he just criticized actors, because again, as much as I love Matthew Lillard and Owen Wilson, and well, I'm not gonna say I love Paul Dano. I'm not super familiar with Paul Dano's work outside of the recent stuff. As much as I love these actors, he's well within his rights to critique their ability as actors. This is more so just like a buildup of all the weird shit he's done. And my boy Khan in the chat talked about, he brought it back up. Yes, but did we cover what he said defending Polanski? And he's referring to in 2018, there was like an interview that he did in 2003 with Howard Stern that came back up where he defended Roman Polanski in his case where the director assaulted a 13-year-old girl sexually. Him quoting, because he argued that the act was not statutory rape, but was not non-violent rape, stating, to me, when you use that word grape, you're talking about violent, throwing them down. It's like most violent crimes in the world. Kind of just downplaying it, and then also victim blaming in that sense, and also using some kind of like weird cultural morality, saying that America has an issue that's different than Europe. He's again defending someone who was sexually assaulting a minor. That was something I forgot about. But it's fucking sad. And again with the he seems like he comes across as that one guy in high school that was really the weird kid in the corner that you wanted to be nice to. Like, you know, the one that people, they say he'd be the one to pew the school and do whatever it may be. And because you were a nice dude, you're like, you know what? Let me go be nice to this guy. Let me make sure I put like my arm around him and make sure he's cool. But that guy's such an asshole and so annoying that you don't even want to give him your time of day. And he could be talented like Tarantino is, but he's such a weirdo and an asshole. It's like, all right, cool. When I'm looking at who he is historically, because apparently there's a history where Tarantino, if you didn't know, his mother was either, I can't remember if his mother was widowed or his father wasn't around. His father wasn't around for whatever reason, and his mother dated a black man, and this black man that was around Tarantino, that was essentially his stepdad, would take him to movie theaters to see blaxploitation films. So he would grow up seeing. That's why he's so funny enough, in my opinion. I think he's pretty solidly good at directing different things, like black films, or just. I think he did. Was it Foxy Brown or Jackie Brown? I'm blanking. I think it's Jackie Brown with Pam Grier, where he did a good job of like portraying black people in films in that nature. But he just comes across as this person who's always like jumping from place to place, and he's a big nerd, and he just wants to feel accepted so bad. Which I guess you kind of get that in that one clip about him just like code switching unnecessarily. When, bro, let's keep it about black people usually accept white people if you can come as you are. You don't have to code switch around black people for the most part. We have my guy Nightshade Holloway. Thanks so much for pulling up, my man. He says he suspects Tarantino has Asperger's, and not a slur against people with Asperger's, but he seems to have trouble with social situations, self-awareness, and while also having encyclopedic knowledge of film. I can't speak to his mental health issues. I'm not a therapist. I can't diagnose him. But he definitely has an issue with like self-awareness and understanding where he is and who he is. But I'm not even going to give him a bailout of saying that's a mental health thing. I think that's just him. I think he's just an asshole. And I think at this point he's developed an ego. Because when you're looking at his filmography, most of his films have been perceived and received really well. And most people enjoy his films. Hell, again, one of my favorite film of all time is one of his films. And I love Kill Bill. Kill Bill is just put back in theater with like, bro, let's put this into perspective, right? The Kill Bill movies have been put back into theater as one long film, and the only difference is that there's like an extra 10 minutes of unseen film. And people are like running back into theaters to go watch that movie and pay to see that movie. I love those movies. I'm not doing that shit, but I have friends that talked about like they have to go and see this, a requirement for us to go and see it because it's so edged into nerd culture. So the fact that you get that much love from people shows like I think how much his ego is probably kind of developed at this point. And then shout out to my boy Travis Mitchell. He asked how's it going, guys? Again, thanks for pulling up, my man. Love seeing new faces, y'all. Love seeing new faces. Appreciate y'all for coming up. But yeah, what you got anything before I continue on with?
Yeah, I just want to go on the Asperger's thing. I do want people to know like I know people on the spectrum personally. It's just like, you know, it's the social like cues and stuff are definitely something that's a little bit of a hurdle. but those people aren't assholes. I never heard a autistic person just randomly go on a tyrant about this one specific person publicly like that. Like, it's one of those where, I mean, you heard the same thing with Elon when Elon did his stuff, and people are just like, well, like, he's autistic, man. That's just how he is. I'm like, no, I think it's just him, bro. I think it's just him, and that's fine. Like, I think it's it. He's always just been kind of a weird person. Like, yeah, like Charlie just said, I don't want to go into like anything that's going on mentally. I'm not a doctor, but his patterns have always sort of been like this, and it almost feels like, okay, like, even if all those things are true mentally, like, we still want you to be able to navigate this properly. And you would think, because he's been in the industry for so long, that he'll be able to navigate these questions. And it seems like he still struggles with it. So I'm just like, maybe if you know this is not your strong suit, don't even put yourself in these situations. It's almost like he didn't. Like, I keep on going back to the Paul Dano. He didn't have to say any of that. Like, if he felt like that, he could have just kept it to himself.
Or bare
Like,
minimum, he could have just said, I don't like Paul Dano I don't think he's a great actor. The weak sister shit,
it.
like, he's so uninteresting.
Unnecessary.
I'm like, what did he do to you? Funny enough, matter of fact, what I have it in here because you can tell this has been a thing with Paul Dano for a while. Because I found this random picture when I was like looking for some of the clips and stuff, and it's so fucking funny. This is a picture of like him at some award show, just like eyeing the back of fucking Paul Dano's head, like burning a hole into this man's head. So for whatever, maybe Paul Dano like turned down one of his one of the requests to be in one of his films, or I don't know what it is. I've seen one guy that had an interesting take where he talked about how Tarantino has this grudge against Paul Dano because Paul Dano is a unconventionally attractive man in Hollywood who's been able to carve out a lane for himself in Hollywood without having to be somebody like Tom Cruise. And he feels as though Tarantino is kind of envious, where he sees himself as being superior to Paul Dano because he's also an unconventionally attractive person in Hollywood, but hasn't gotten a reputation for being an actor, which I find it so odd that you want to be an actor so bad when you already are like thriving in this one role of being able to make film. Like, you're the ringleader of film, but you want to be like a part. I don't want to get it. Really quick before I let you go, my guy Khan in the chat says, why is it every time celebrities do or say weird things, we try to brush it off as a mental condition? We have issues holding these figures accountable. And he follows it up by saying it's disrespectful to people with real mental health conditions that majority of the world don't show the same amount of grace. And I agree. I think people have issues with a lot of the parasocial relationships with a lot of these celebrities and people that do great things. When people are talented and they get recognized for their talent, they get deified, and because they're deified, they're seen as greater than fucking. They're put it on the same pedestal as like a literal god, like Jesus, Buddha, whatever it may be, and you just don't see flaws in them. Like the Beehive, the fucking Barbs, like name whatever crazy fan base you want to have in there. The Swifties, that's kind of a similar thing. And to your point, I find issue in this because we don't, like to your point, we don't give people the same grace. Like somebody that has autism and maybe has difficulties ingratiating themselves in a social aspect, people just rub it off or say they're weird, I'm not going to hang around them. We don't give them the same grace. What were you saying? Oh, my bad.
Oh, you're saying this point about how why does Tarantino have this infatuation on wanting to be an actor? I think it's one of those where you can take a lame nigga out the hood, but you can't take the lame out of the nigga. Like, he's lame. Yeah. He's a lame ass nigga. Like, he's just a lame ass nigga that's an asshole that just so happens to make good movies. But you can tell, despite, and I think this is the reason why Drake has the same problem too. They feel in their heart that they should be whatever they think they should be. And despite all the success that both of those people have actually had, they can be very content. Like, Drake's probably one of the greatest rappers ever. If you agree with that or not, his stats show that. Same with Tarantino. Regardless how you feel about Tarantino, he's made very good quality movies that people like yourself will include and have posters. And I mean, like, The Bride is a Fortnite skin. Like, this is sort of the success of his movies. But he still feels like this. Very spiteful about these sort of things. Why? Because he's a lame ass nigga. Because he's just
it's so crazy to me because, to your point, like, you brought up the Drake thing. This man, in a lot of people's eyes, like when you look at that beef, he didn't have to have any hard evidence he could put out a rumor about something with Kendrick. He's able to say some lame shit, and then you had people that are like defending this shit, even down to the point to where it's long after the point to where people understand for the most part he lost that beef, and you still have a large section of thousands, possibly millions of people that still defends you, and even after the fact when he lost and people are like, oh, we off Drake, the nigga's still dropping music and the music's still doing numbers because even people that hate him are still doing, like, when you look at people's Spotify Wrapped, that nigga is still in people's like top fives. So like
that was
people
the first thing I did with rap came out. I was like, which one of you niggas out here still got Drake? I know you say you gonna listen to it. I ain't have that nigga in my top five.
I think he was literally at my number 5 still. I was mostly listening to like the stuff he did with Wayne and other shit like that. But
right,
you have that much of an L and people still support you. You have that much of a cult following, that much of a success, and you still just feel like this inadequacy in your chest where you just feel like you don't measure up. And I don't know who you're competing with. Who are you competing with at that point? Like, obviously, exactly. Like you want the respect of not just your peers. I think you have respect of your peers. You want respect of like the culture. And for Drake, it's the rap shit. But for Tarantino, it's like you want people to look at you like a god, even though most people do. And my guy Travis Mitchell says, for so long, Quentin Tarantino's weirdness and blunt attitude has been praised. He's down to earth, and part of his charm was that he was a film fan as much as he, if not more than when he was a filmmaker. And I agree with that. I think that's part of what made me like him so much too. When I was seeing him in different interviews, again, if you guys haven't seen it on my channel, I did one of my first video essays that I researched, wrote, and did myself was a video where I broke down why I love Django so much and what made that film special. And I was doing research and looking at like the little things he did behind the scenes that he talked about in regards to what he did to put that movie together. And for people that aren't aware, Django Unchained is not the first Django. There is a movie in like, I think the 60s or the 70s that had the same name, but was based on a different, same concept, I think, for the most part, but a white guy at that point. But because he's such a cinephile, he was able to go back and know about that movie and know how to put stuff together and found all those things and made that movie. And for a lot of people like myself, that's what made us fans of him. And the last thing that Travis Mitchell says before we continue on, he says, the flaw being that film fans are often very vocal about what they don't like as much as they are about what they like. When talking about film, he becomes a fan and those toxic traits come out. And I agree with that in regards to people levying criticism. Because that's something that even outside of just film, when you're talking about anime, sports, people love to have their opinions be heard, and people want their opinions to be the opinion. They don't want to just be like, oh, yeah, it's my personal opinion. No, they want their opinion to be the mass opinion, which is why you see a lot of people that just regurgitate what the masses are saying. I hate it because I talk about basketball as a whole, usually when I'm discussing like somebody like Draymond Green, right? Recently we saw, again, I know I'm getting into some sports nerdy shit for my people that are just, nerds here, but stay with me. There's a whole thing where like Kenyon Martin, who was a good basketball player in the 2000s, he was talking about Draymond Green and how Draymond Green was weaker, how he wouldn't measure up to him as a player, whatever, maybe blase. And he's just regurgitating these talking points that you've seen people on mass media say for the longest time, people that aren't watching the games, but because those are the main talking points, they're regurgitating them. And that's Kenyon Martin, who was a NBA vet and was perceived to be pretty good. I think he was a number 1 pick. He should know better than that, but even he still is like, nah, this is the narrative. The narrative supports what I believe, so I'm going to keep regurgitating that thing. And it feels like Quentin Tarantino is just trying to create that mass opinion. He wants the mass opinion to be his opinion. And he's very unapologetic about that. And to my guy Travis's point, in other times it worked when you're having opinions that aren't really just tearing down anybody else, because when he had opinions about film as a whole, he was talking about limited releases and how much he hated that. And that's an opinion that for the most part most film fans agreed with, because it was something that made sense in the sense of being a cinephile. But when you do shit like this where you're just like needlessly tearing down people, that's where that fucking, again, to your point, you made the great comparison to Kanye. When Kanye was doing all this crazy shit before and talking about Beyonce should have won album of the year and George doesn't like black people, he was doing the same weird shit and wild shit he's doing now, but he's trying to be such a contrarian now and just saying wild shit to where it's poking out a lot more. He's looking crazy.
Yeah. Also, we gotta find a better word than cinephile. There gotta be a better word out there than that.
I know that's like the official term, and it's just
I hate that so much.
I try not to call myself that, but I'm like, I don't know, man. My guy Khan says the correlation between Kanye and Quentin is the aspiration to be an artist outside of a producer. Kanye used to make only beats, but maybe I got another chat. maybe there's an envy of not having the attention as an artist, a person with vision, but not that need to be seen. Yeah, I can agree with that. Especially when you're a part of making something that's amazing and perceived to be amazing, and you feel like you're good enough to do that. Especially when, in Kanye's case, I think it's even worse because he did step out to rap, and people loved him for his raps and what he was writing as well. So he found that he was good at both things, and that kind of boosted his ego even more. It feels like Tarantino's still in that phase of like he's trying to prove himself in that realm. And I don't know, man, because for some people's opinion, they would argue that the director of his quality and the fact that he's worked with amazing actors like Jamie, like Sam, like Christoph Waltz, like he's worked with some legendary actors who are Oscar award winners and nominees, and part of those nominees are coming from some of the films he's made. So you would argue he knows what good acting looks like, which I don't disagree with. But at the same time, I know what an asshole looks like, and you needlessly this targeting people, especially targeting people like in a Matthew Lillard and an Owen Wilson who like literally don't say anything publicly. Like I've seen Matthew Lillard at like all the smallest, like you think of the smallest horror convention you can think of, he's usually there front and center, giving people hugs, hanging out with people. You remember the girl I was talking to a while back, right? That lived in Florida or whatever it may be. She was like showing me pictures that she took with Matthew Lillard at some random convention she went to in Florida that he was at every year. It's like a small convention that he just pulls up to, and he's just a really personable guy, and somebody who goes to cons and meets different voice actors or actors that are part of like mainstream things. You can very much tell like who's in it for the love of the game and love their fans, and who's in it just for the check. Funny enough, me and Khan have a shared story about a particular person like that. I'm not going to say his name right now, but it's a thing, man. It's a thing. Last comment before we get ready to switch topics, I do want to close this topic out. And just one more topic that I think is very important to talk about that I have on the docket. My guy Chaz Mitchell says it's a double-edged sword because Tarantino's behavior during interviews with paparazzi and even with actors, while funny to talk about on talk show, is oh my God, can I not speak today? Indisputably disrespectful. Thank you. Oh my God, I forgot how to read for a second. And I agree with that. I agree with that for the most part. I don't know, man. It's interesting. And for the most part, I'm happy to see that most people that have spoken on this kind of had a similar sentiment of, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing that? And at the same time, I don't know. For a dude like him to be able to get flagged for all this stuff that he's gotten flagged for when it comes to the Polanski shit with the saying the N-word in films or writing the N-word in films and things like that, it's the feet thing with Salma Hayek and the fact you wrote that scene in and then casted yourself as
You're
that,
in it.
and then made the scene a long ass scene. I gotta find out. I gotta look for interviews like from Salma Hayek to see like how she felt about that scene. More than likely, she was like just kind of like chugging through it because I don't think she'd done a lot of major films at that point in her career. I think that was like one of her breakout moments, to my knowledge. But I'm just like, I don't know, bro. That's the whole thing. You have any closing sentiments or remarks before we move on?
The only thoughts I have is just I hope he stops doing this because, like, again, he's doing all this. When's that next movie that he keeps on swearing up and down is his last one? When is he going to drop that? We have no sort of teaser, no understanding when it's going to come out. And instead of doing your writing or whatever, you're just yapping about other folks. You need to get back in the pen, start writing.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that next movie is like the Kill Bill sequel that everybody's been craving this whole time. I don't find it to be a coincidence that we're getting a re-release with extended footage of Kill Bill. Like when we're getting it, I feel like he's going to announce that it's going to be like Kill Bill 4 at some point soon. And the fan cast that everybody's talked about for years is like having Zendaya play the daughter. But I don't know. We'll see. I'd love to see that film as well because I love to see what that sequel looks like and how he writes that new arc. Because more than likely it's going to be like another revenge story, but like flipped and kind of showing how revenge kind of perpetuates. And I think funny enough, I did that in, again, plugging myself, y'all, but I did a video on Revenge Tales on the channel, like another video essay where I kind of talked about that movie and that interaction specifically and how he wrote that and whatnot. Who do you hope plays the role? Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I'm not mad at Zendaya. I know she's like annoying for a lot of people now because they feel like she's in everything, but that role, and especially what I've seen her in recently when I watched her in Challengers and seen her in Euphoria and seen her in Dune, I'm like, I wouldn't be mad at seeing her in that role. But I could also see other stuff that other actors that you could put in that role, like Jamie Lawson or whatever it may be. But moving forward into the second and last topic of today, y'all. I recently watched episode 6 of Welcome to Derry. I think episode 6 or 7, I can't remember. And for people that aren't watching Welcome to Derry, it essentially is a prequel series for the 2017 It movies made by the Busciettis. And in this movie, we're looking at some of the untalked about tales from the books. We're just like getting another adaptation of the book. And in this book, in this season, it's taking place in the 1960s. And for people that may not understand the lore, essentially the way Pennywise, the dancing clown works, or it works, is that every 27 years, he comes out of hibernation, causes mass hysteria, and devours a bunch of children, and creates this mass, like, murder, essentially, whether it be like a hate crime or whatever. Maybe he causes mass murder, and then he hibernates after creating that much fear for 27 years. In this episode, we see that this particular mass, I guess, crisis that he creates is a hate crime against Black people, where he essentially has a lynch mob come about, and they lock a bunch of Black people that were in essentially a juke joint in the 60s, and they locked them inside because they're looking for a Black person who was accused of murder of children, and they light this whole building on fire with those people inside of it. And the scene, again, objectively speaking, it's filmed really well. It's a one shot inside the building, and we just get to see all the carnage and turmoil. The thing that kind of annoys me about it a little bit, and the thing that's kind of, it's been pointed out to me, and I kind of feel really weird about it, is the fact that so much of an emphasis was placed upon this carnage that Black people had to go through. And it made me like want to think back into just Black pain as a whole and how I feel about Black pain being utilized in film. For me, just to give everybody a little bit of backstory, and I did a video on this today. I recorded, kind of diving into more detail about it. That'll probably come out later on this week or next week, where I kind of have this thing where I'm kind of worried about Black pain in film. To give some backstory, my grandfather is a lot of the reason why I love film, and if you watch the Django video, you'll understand why. That's why that movie is my favorite movie, with my experience with him on that. And to give you guys some more backstory, my grandfather, he was pro-Black everything when it came to film and content, like Black movies. If it was Black actors, Black directors, Black writers, no matter who was in it, if they were Black and they were prominent in this thing, he was gonna watch it. So I kind of got to that point to where he just really reinforced the idea of Black excellence and who we are as a people really into my head. That being the case, I kind of developed this thing in my head to where I didn't like seeing Black pain on screen. So a lot of the more popular movies from the 90s, when you're looking at Dead Presidents, Boys in the Hood, Get Rich or Die Trying, stuff like that, I didn't even want to see. I didn't want to think about seeing those films. I already knew what they were and what they were about in regards to the Black pain, the drugs being sold, all the other stuff. And it wasn't until my grandfather put that particular poster up behind me up in his movie room, and his movie room was like his palace, where he only put posters up of films that he really admired. So Harlem Nights, the Will Smith Ali movie, Major Payne, I think the 2001 Shaft movie with Sam Jackson was playing it. Jackie Brown, like he's had nothing but Black excellence up. So the day he took something down and put that poster up, I was like, okay, maybe I need to give that movie a chance. Because I think I watched Django for the first time like a year or 2 years after it came out. I think it dropped in like 2012, 2013. I was like 15 when I saw it for the first time. And that movie really opened up me to the idea of potentially seeing Black pain in film, because it was a movie where it was centered around Black pain, but at the end, the Black man and the Black people got to be happy, essentially. They won. It wasn't just depressing the entire way through. I didn't just watch 100 Years a Slave or Roots or anything like that. Like we had to see a happy ending there.
Right.
After that, for a little bit, me being open, I got to the point to where I would watch certain things if it had Black pain in it. I give it a chance. Most recently, like I think I told you, I watched Snowfall. I binged all of Snowfall for the first time and loved it. And I got to see these actors play amazing roles in this amazing story, but it ended really fucking depressingly and really fucking realistically, like on how you think a drug kingpin in the late 70s, early 80s would do with the person that he damn near popularized crack cocaine. So when I got into this particular episode, right, I know I'm being long-winded here, people, but stick with me. I promise I'm getting to the point here. When I got into watching this episode and I watched this carnage happen in a show where all the white children that were murdered and white people that are usually fucked with in this show have these grand, fantastical ways of it happening. Like in one scene, this nigga Pennywise turned himself into he turned himself into a girl's father, but then made him like a pickle squid monster in a pickle jar because she didn't like pickles or whatever it may be. Or in the previous movies, he turned himself into a massive Paul Bunyan statue. So in this show, we've seen that for the white people, he turns into this massive, like bigger than life, wild thing. But when it got to the point to where we're seeing black people go through murder and carnage, our biggest fear and our biggest murder comes in the hands of a hate crime, a real life thing that we have to go through. And I understand the idea that they were trying to go for in regards to the real monsters in this being the actual white men that did this thing. But at the same time, I'm like, why can't we get that same love in regards to creativity and murdering us? Even if you wanted to like play into the idea of it being a clan thing, could you not fucking make, I don't know, KKK zombies? I don't know. Like you could have done something different to fuck with that. And in my opinion, I don't know. I'm not throwing dirt on the name of the Bushietis. I understand again what they were trying to do, and I think there's no denying that the show is made in a great way. But I do think that's a question I kind of want to arise in the conversation I want to kind of have in regards to black people getting that opportunity to not have to just relive black pain every time we're in a horror film, damn near, or anytime we're in a situation where we need to see black people go through pain or struggle and strife. It's always rooted in the realism and the realisticness that we had to go through when it comes to the oppression we suffered or racism in modern day. It's never Afrofuturism. It's never black fantasy stuff. It's always like literally just the black pain put on screen. And I'm kind of just like, I don't know. There's not really any overarching like accusation I'm putting on the Bushietis at all. So I don't want people to get that twisted. It wore me out. It took the energy out of me. It made me like feel a little fatigue after watching it, where I'm just like, fuck. You got the accomplished goal of making me feel sad and depressed watching this carnage, but at the same time, could this not have been creatively evil like the rest of the show? Why did this need to be so realistically evil?
Yeah. So full transparency, I don't do horror that much. Charlie's trying to get me into it, but I ain't watching it. Yeah, that's a little jump for me. But I mean, hearing some of the goofy ass ways Pennywise killed folks for that to kind of seamlessly transition to like that, how can you not feel hollow after that? Which kind of goes into this bigger question on, are we seen only as it goes? Let me chew on this for a second. Based off the example you just gave, Charlie, it just kind of shows like we don't want to always be seen as examples on screen. We want to be seen as people too that, have experiences, both good and bad. And this is where it gets complicated for me. I can understand the director's perspective. I'm being like, well, the people who really need to understand that black folks actually deal with this are not going to go out of their way to do it. So we need to infuse it in popular culture just to remind them, hey, this horrific thing that you just saw, this stuff actually really happens. So it's a clever way in a sense to be able to get basic white people to be like, hey, like, isn't that crazy? Now here's a thought. This actually happens to real white people of color and black folks specifically in real life. I think like I watched Wicked. Like Wicked's like a little too much on the nose about that, and it's just like, yeah, like the niggas who really need to see it ain't gonna go out their way to watch a documentary on how these things happen. But on the flip side of that, to your point, why does that always have to be something? Why do we have to always be a reminder? Why can't we just be like? Why can't these one few examples? It's just kind of like, oh, like there is no black horror pain or anything. And I'm not saying that you can't show that, but to your Django's point, at least there was a happy ending with that. It's like, we want a little escapism as well, and I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of accepting that. Which is why I don't watch like anytime there's like a song, like anytime like a 12 Years a Slave type movie come out, I was like, that shit ain't made for me. I ain't watching that. I know what the thing is. So cause not only just because of my experiences, because I make the effort to learn more about this stuff every single day, but a lot of people don't. So it's like this is just this balance of just like, how do I keep people conscious, but also like, I don't know, still continue to tell my story. I'm not saying everybody's doing that with every sort of TV show or movie, but it feels like there's always, now that I think about it, I take a step back, I feel like for a lot of movies, or especially TV shows, there's always that one episode about black people. It's just like, why is
Right.
that even a thing?
I understand it. Again, it's somebody that, again, I pride myself in the content I make on representation, and I love when writers are able to slip in the nuggets of
Right.
understanding why things are the way they are. I think one of my favorite episodes of Static Shock is the episode where
Right.
Static and Richie are dealing with Richie's racist dad, and they dealt with that in
Exactly.
a pretty good way for a kid show at that point in time. Like, I'm like, damn, y'all really were bold about that.
Yeah.
But I get really annoyed because, to your point, like, we usually see this shit as Oscar bait. Whenever you want to give a black man
Yeah.
an Oscar or give him a Grammy, or not Grammy, or a Emmy, put him in a movie where he's either a slave, he's an indentured servant. Like, looking at movies like The Green Book with Mahershala Ali, amazing movie, but shit, like, he's a master pianist playing through the fucking racist South. You're giving me
Right.
Django. You're giving me like all it has to be a movie in that way, or Emancipation with Will Smith. Like, why the fuck is Will Smith now playing a slave now? Why isn't he getting all this Oscar love when he was in Men in Black, or when he was like or I Am Legend, where he's fighting zombies or aliens? I don't understand. And there's one quick clip I want to react to, a post by a content creator that I'm in love with. I love her content because
love-
very rarely do I see people's perspectives and points on something that is one that I never even thought to see or talk about. And she just always words things in a very great way. But for people that aren't aware who she is, her name's Society's Joker. And she's pretty big in like the Black nerd sphere, but she's been covering this show and a lot of the horror shows like episodically and like commentating on them. And I'm thoroughly impressed by what she does, because nigga, you telling me I need to have this level of understanding and thought process right after episode comes out. Even me writing my notes down and pondering it, I have thoughts, but she always has a perspective that I never thought to have. So shout out to her. Let me set this up real quick. There it is.
The worst discourse place ever, because y'all sound so fucking stupid. This is how y'all sound to me. This is how y'all sound to me. Why are you offended by the racism in the story? It's historically accurate, but it's not that deep because it's fictional. So why are you mad? This is how they treated black people back in the day. Like, they literally didn't like niggas. So why aren't you happy and entertained? If you don't like seeing racism, just don't watch it. But it's not a story about racism. It's literally about a clown, a demonic clown that can shapeshift, and it takes the fear of people. It's making people angry. That's why they're racist. No. Dairy isn't racist. It's just the plot theme of 1960s. It's thematic of racism. You don't understand that there's like a deeper, they've been showing this since episode 1, but no, Lily isn't ignorant. She's just a kid. You're just mad because she's white. Ronnie's an idiot. Why wouldn't her dad just turn himself in? We knew the black spot was gonna happen. So why are we surprised that the Klan showed up and burned it down and we saw black people getting shot in the head? That historically happened. I'm black and I don't have an issue with the story because I know that it's fictional. But they're representing us accurately. Like, y'all sound insane. Y'all view things as an issue instead of a doorway to a conversation, and that's the problem in making racism entertainment. I even say in the video prior talking about how I feel that, you know, I understand that it's very good, that it's an entertaining show, but I cannot displace my frustrations since I know the truth. And y'all are so obsessed with trying to prove that you're not scary or you're not easily offended or you're the perfect Negro. You are devaluing the purpose of the story. You can't sit here and be like, oh, the accuracy makes this show so fucking good. But the moment that somebody talks about the accuracy in question and how it made them feel, you say, oh, well, you don't understand it. Just don't watch it. So what the fuck? Like, so why did you find it entertaining? And then the funniest thing is the black spot has nothing to do with Pennywise, right? But if you say that, they're gonna be like, no, you don't understand, because Pennywise is intensifying the fear of people and the anger within the community. The community was already angry. That's why black people wasn't really fucking living in there. As y'all say, in defense of Lily, Ronnie's dad was gonna get locked away anyways because they wanted to lock him up. You can understand why the police are racist, right? My fault. Let me put it in a way that people might understand. Terry's racist! Like, what the fuck? Terry is like the worst discourse.
You know,
So shout out to her.
You know-
Again, I love her fucking content so much. And for people that are looking for her stuff, it's Society's Joker.
no, she's great. I mean, that actually makes me think, like, going back to your point of, like, taking a step back about Django, like, if you're white and you love Django, why do you like that movie so much? Because, like, when I rewatched that movie, like, I'm not sitting back to her point and being like, man, this movie's great because they're historically showing two black men fighting to the death. There's just something about that, man. That just really gets me going. Like, that's not the reason why I like the movie at all. But if you, like, she, to her point, if you try to explain, like, yeah, the movie was good, but like those parts are obviously, be watching that experience is always going to be a little uncomfortable. And it's just like, well, like, that's just how it was back in the day. And that's why probably people give Tarantino those critiques, because it's just like, I know that was historically how it was during that time, but it doesn't mean you have to like really lean into it like that. You can maybe do a clever way of trying to flip it on his head, which you can argue Django was, because it ends with a black man and his like wife being able to walk off in the sunset. But like, it's just like, yeah, her points, I have like nothing else to add but that. I think everything she said is so well put.
Because she had a fucking bar of the century in there when she said people see these conversations as an issue and not a doorway to a conversation. I'm like, yeah, this shit made me feel uncomfortable, and I want to talk about why it made me feel uncomfortable. And if your immediate response is to try to devalue my feelings because you don't want this thing to be seen as less than because it makes people feel uncomfortable, now I'm looking at you sideways. Like, why are you having an issue with me perceiving this traumatic ass content as something that makes me feel weird? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's inaccurate. I'm not saying it's low quality. I'm saying the shit I watched on this screen made me feel a certain type of way, especially me as a black man seeing people that look like me. Part of the amazing thing
Yeah.
about the whole situation is at the end of the scene. So we have a character in this named Dick Halloran. And Dick Halloran is a guy that was in the Shining movie originally, and he has this thing called the Shine. And the Shine, essentially, at least for him, it has different abilities for different people. Like for Carrie, it's the pyrokinesis and shit like that, and for different Stephen King stuff. But for Dick Halloran specifically, it allows him to see dead people and see ghosts and spirits, and they speak to him. And after this situation of the black spot, which is the murder, the next morning you're seeing the ghost of all these dead people speaking to him, saying that you can't let them get away with this. Da da da. Like, he's carrying the pain of all his people on his shoulders, demanding justice. And again, it's fucking really well written, and I can acknowledge that. But it also makes me feel fucking depressed because I have to acknowledge I feel that same thing. I feel like me and other black people go through that same thing of carrying the weight of our ancestors on our backs to be great and to just live life every day, knowing all the fucking carnage that went down before us. And it's just this thing of like, again, I understand how metaphorically well written it is. I understand how well shot it is. I understand that it's cool. But nigga, when I was watching these other kids get murdered, and like, we saw a scene of a fucking demon baby flying out of a woman's coochie, and then these kids getting eaten in a movie theater. I got to be like, oh, that was fucking spooky and crazy, and I didn't leave fucking deflated. When we saw a scene of like a white child who was Jewish. His father told him about how in Jewish internment camps they would use Jewish people as like skin for lamps, whatever it may be. And the most we saw out of that was a lamp with a face on it crying for help. And I'm like, that was fucking spooky. But we didn't make that the center thing. We didn't go to a Jewish internment camp and see murder happen on a grand scale. We only see that shit with the black people in town. And I understand, yes, it's 1962 and these things would be accurate. But fuck, you couldn't write any other crazier fantastical kill with that too. It just had to be, yeah, they burn them alive and shoot them in the head. And yeah, you sprinkle in a little bit of Pennywise murdering one or two people in there, but I'm watching mass murder at the hands of the Klan, essentially.
Yeah, and then to your point, they could have, if your goal is to make sure it's historically accurate, you can hint at it. You can hint at it without actually showing the carnage. Like, you don't have to go all in on it just to like, I don't know, like it is really jarring, and I think it's even more jarring when you even have to argue about this, because I want to really chew on the quote she said that you mentioned about like a issue. It is an issue, is a doorway to a conversation. Like, everything is like, these things are like these sort of ways how media dictates your everyday decisions in life we're consuming all the time. So like, you don't think the movies that we watch, the TVs that we watch, like, don't lead to conversations on how we think critically about everything. So like, media consumption is very important. So like, yeah, I'm not overreacting when I want to highlight these things, because it's not just a movie. Like, nothing is, and it's not just a TV show. These are the same TV shows and movies now that people tell you that like inspired them, or like, I got a lot from that I'm really gonna hold on to. Like, I think I think I told you earlier today, like I love La La Land, and that movie has actually affected me to a point where like I play the piano now. Part of the reason, shout out to Ryan Gosling, but it's just like, um, you don't think like if we don't have those conversations now, like that stuff would just leak into you. Like again, like this is important that we have these conversations because if you're not, I'm assuming that you're liking this shit for all the wrong reasons, and now we're looking crazy when something crazy happens. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Having service level conversation about any kind of artistic endeavor is just it grinds my fucking gears. Like, cool, flashing lights, fire, spooky ghost, clown. What does that mean to you? Like, we understand, and it's
Right.
pretty apparent that these directors were trying to say something with this. What are they
Right.
trying to say? It's part of the reason why niggas look at Tarantino sideways, because we understand you had somebody say nigga 47 times in a scene for a particular reason, or you portrayed a black person in this movie for a particular reason in a certain way. Why is that? What are you trying to say? What are you either subconsciously or consciously trying to say about this person or these people or this thing? But
Right, because you're never just telling a story, right? Nobody is ever 100% unbiased. You're always biased to a degree. So even if you're trying to tell an accurate story, as Tarantino would like to say, that story is still told by the lens to which you move it and get the final cut on. So like I'm gonna give you the benefit out to say whatever you're trying to show me when I sit down and get my popcorn and watch it is your vision of what you think I should be seeing. So I'm gonna ask you, why are you letting me see this? You decided to show this to me. Why are you showing this to me? What is the point that you're trying to make?
yeah, man. And again, y'all, and having this conversation, that's just that. I'm trying to have the conversation. I'm trying to make sure that we're sparking thought and that we're having these conversations so that we can consume media with a little bit more literacy than I think is going around now. So
Yep.
again, however y'all feel about it, let us know in the comment section below. For people that are watching this after the fact, thank you guys. To the people that are here live, shout out my man Khan, shout out my man Travis Mitchell for pulling up in the given thought process, and to anyone else that pulled up that I'm blanking on, I didn't see. Oh, Nightshade, Holloway, thank you so much. Especially to the new people. Thank y'all so much. I think I get a lot of new people on the channel. I'm trying to work on getting all the returners to come back consistently, but to all the new people that come around the channel, thank you guys so much. If you guys are new to this channel and to what this is, this stream, this long form content is the Captain's Lounge, where I tend to have long form conversations in a podcast format with people that I think are amazing. Sometimes it can be in the form of an interview, sometimes it can be in forms like this where we're just having a conversation. But the channel in itself is called Captain Diesel's Dojo. This is where I talk about movies, gaming, anything nerd culture related, anything within the divine. I think I've talked about music at one point on the Captain's Lounge as well. I tend to do video essays or reviews on different things that I love and find interesting, and sometimes I'll do character breakdowns for certain characters, like done stuff on comic book characters like Nico Minoru, X-23, Jon Stewart. I've done it again. I tend to do a lot of things. If it's nerdy, I'll probably do
It's
it on
here.
this channel. It's here. And I try to put a lot of thought into a lot of the things that I do on here, especially the video essays, because those take a lot of research and a lot of time. But again, thank y'all so much for watching this today. If you guys have made it this far into the stream, it means you've liked the stream and you've liked the video. So do me a favor and hit that like button. This is after the fact. I think YouTube has this new thing where they're allowing you to hype videos now. It should be like near the comment section where you can throw hype points on there. Hype points are essentially this free currency that YouTube gives out to people that allow them to distribute to the creators, and it helps to boost videos and helps smaller creators like myself that are under 100,000 subs to get more likes and kind of build our communities up to get to the point of the big dogs. So that, and then again, obviously, as you guys know, subscribe to the channel, and then hit that noti bell to be notified about any video that I drop on this channel. But YouTube be kind of bullshitting sometimes, but showcasing videos unless you have that notification on.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, Jay, you wanna plug anything? You wanna speak on anything before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I want to plug is, my boy just dropped his comic, his first issue. I don't know if you really talked about that much, but just like Reaper's out there, man. I'm pretty sure if you follow Charlie on any of his socials and stuff, he got the link to go check it out, man. I really think you should. I've only read a couple pages so far, but it's great. It looks great, illustrated great, and I think my boy's been working on this for a while. So if you can uplift him in that, that's all I got to add to it.
Yeah, for people, I don't know how I need to. My mind, low key, was like taken off of it because I planned on doing a lot of the promotional stuff for next week. But yeah, my first comic, Reaper, is officially out now. I won't show you guys the comic itself, but I'll show you guys the pinup I have here. Oh my god, me fit this to the screen. It's just the pin-up art of the story. It's for people that aren't aware of what it is. If you guys want to kind of think something akin to Bleach meets Supernatural, kind of it's a similar vibe there. It's a story that I've been working really hard on the last couple years, and I finally got the strength and the financial flexibility to be able to make this dream and passion a reality. And so far, it's been selling pretty well. So to the people that have bought physical or digital copies, thank you guys so much. For people that have bought physical copies that haven't received them yet, I finished getting information together with the printer today. So the physical copies will be sent out as of today. So there should, a lot of them should be on their way as we speak. So be on the lookout of your mailbox for those as those come out. And then if you guys want to support the second issue when it comes out, I'm going to finish writing up the script for that soon, but I have a Kickstarter up that I'm going to promote soon, probably next week when I get my funds together to make the video and not look homeless. So I can get my fund and get a little cut or some shit. I'll put that out so people that want to support that second issue can, be generous and support that and making sure that issue happens a lot sooner than later. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode number 30 of the Captain's Lounge. This has been my guy Jay, your boy Captain Diesel. And guys, remember, forever and always.
You're now watching the Captain.
And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.